Welcome, it's Zurika from Living an Amazing Life. Today's episode breaks down the ethical hacks from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. Everybody wants rapid transformation, yet very few actually get to experience transformation. James Clear covers 4 simple hacks in the book Atomic Habits, along with a framework of how to form good habits. Our focus today is to break down these hacks in a 20-minute lesson. Atomic Habits is a must-read book for any entrepreneur or professional wanting to make a habit stick for the long term. The hacks are profound and worth implementing. Now, before we dive into the hacks, if you're new to this podcast, then every episode on Living an Amazing Life aims at breaking down ethical hacks used by world-class billionaires, entrepreneurs, scientists, doctors, Olympic athletes to reach their highest performance. We cover these as practical micro lessons distilled in 20 to 30 minutes that you can implement in your own life to be a high performer. James Clear states that every day, small, tiny habits are transforming our lives. The question really is which habits are taking you on the right path and which are taking you down a rabbit hole. You can either be a victim of your habits or you can be an architect of your habits. The technical definition of a habit is a behavior that has been repeated enough times to become automatic. So things that you can do without having to think about them. Things like brushing your teeth, having a shower, moisturizing your hands, washing your hands before eating, washing your plate, etc. In a talk at ConvertKit, James mentioned that there are 4 hacks of habit transformation. Hack 1, noticing, which is the cue. Hack 2, wanting, which is a craving. Hack 3, doing, which is a response. And hack 4, liking, which is the reward. So let's cover each of the hacks in detail. Hack 1, noticing. Many people think they lack motivation, when in actual fact, what they lack is having a clear vision. James says that to create a habit, we first need to notice what is the habit we want to implement. Once we notice what habit we want, the next stage is to figure out the when, where, and how we plan on implementing this habit. All of us know that to make a habit stick, we have to be consistent. To make sure we put in place the when, where, and how, James shares a method called the failure pre-mortem. In this exercise, you are to imagine that 6 months in the future, the most important goal or project that you're working on fails. Write the story of how it happened and what caused it to fail. Things like what happened, what challenges you encountered, what took you off course, etc. Once you describe this in detail, it gives you the ability to see what your plan really needs to include. The next hack, which is hack 2, wanting. Most people cannot stick to a positive habit in a consistent manner in a negative environment. It's really important that we shape our environment to form good habits. So if you're wanting to lose weight, living in an environment where you're exposed to potato chips, chocolates, muffins, processed foods is not going to help. Instead, it's first important to detach yourself from such an environment or create processes that will distance you away from such an environment. Example, if you always forget to floss your teeth, keep the flossing unit next to your toothbrush. If you want to be a better reader, then once you have made up your bed, keep the book on your pillow so you are reminded to read a few pages before bedtime. These are some examples that James shares in his talk. Hack 3. The doing. James says that most doing goals are focused on the finish line, such as how much weight we want to lose, how many subscribers we want to achieve, how much cash flow we need to be profitable, etc. Now, rather than focusing on the finish line, James mentions that we focus on the starting line, where the key focus is on how many times we need to do a certain habit to achieve the desired outcome. So if the goal is to lose weight, then the small habit really is to measure how many steps you are prepared to walk each day and how often, rather than focusing on weighing yourself every day. Our main focus needs to repeat certain habits right from the starting line. The more we focus on repetition, the closer we will be to the finish line. Hack 4. Liking. The only reason we repeat a particular behavior is because we derive some kind of pleasure from those behaviors. Smoking a cigarette is a classic example. Everyone knows it's a bad habit, especially for your health. Yet, so often, smokers derive pleasure out of that habit. Going to the gym and working out for some is a pleasurable experience. Yet, the same routine for others can be painful. So, to create a good habit, you have got to bring a reward to stick to a good habit. It could be anything, like giving yourself a gold star every time you engage in a good habit. At first, you will skip routines, but over time, when you can visually see your gold star, you will automatically aim to receive more gold stars, thereby creating a habit that serves you. Remember, it needs to be a visual representation so you have a way to measure your new habit. James mentions that with consistency and repetition, you can truly transform into a new person. The more evidence we give our mind, the more likely we are able to achieve it and believe it. He mentions that true change is not a goal change or a process change. It is an identity change. The goal is not to read a book. Instead, it is to become a reader. The goal is not to create 5 podcast episodes in advance. Instead, it's to become a successful podcaster. The goal is not to lose weight. Instead, it is to become a leaner, fitter person. The goal is not to make $1 million. Instead, it is to become a wealthy person. The way to become this person is by doing habits. So every time you read a few pages of a book, you are being a reader. Every time you publish a podcast episode, you are being a podcaster. Every time you save and invest your money, you are being an investor. Habits are the path through which we transform our lives by repeating habits over and over again. In his book, Atomic Habits, he provides a framework that allows any person to design good habits. He also defines the steps to take. Now let's break down the hacks into understandable steps. Cue, which is noticing. Craving, which is wanting. Response, which is doing. Reward, which is liking. The cue or noticing is a visual signal that triggers your brain to initiate a certain behavior. Next, we have the craving or wanting. What you crave is not the habit itself, but the change in how you feel. This is then followed by a response or doing. The response is the actual habit we perform. And last is the reward or liking. This is what we receive for the response we performed. This habit loop forms a neurological feedback loop that ultimately creates an automatic habit. So how do we design good habits? Let's look at hack 1, Q, which is noticing. We've got to make it obvious. So what are the steps? Recording your existing habits. That's your first step. Before you can build a new habit, the first step is to understand our current habits. This can be tough to pick, as some of our habits are now automatic. Here, what James recommends is that to become aware of our habits, we should use something like a habit scorecard. Your habit scorecard could be something like this. You wake up by 4 a.m., you drink a glass of warm water, you visit the bathroom, you weigh yourself, you brush your teeth, you have a shower, then you stretch, you then have breakfast, you check your phone, etc. Once you have the complete list, score each of them. Use the plus sign for a good habit, a negative sign for bad, and an equal to sign for neutral. When scoring your habits, think which habits will benefit you long term. For example, checking your phone first thing when you wake up might keep you updated, but distract your mindfulness routine for the morning and thereby delay your actions longer. So, it's not a healthy habit. Note, at this stage when you're recording your habits, this exercise is to simply notice your habits. We are not trying to change anything yet. If you struggle to notice your habits, then what James recommends is a technique called pointing and calling to raise awareness by verbalizing your action. For example, if you're about to put off exercising, say, "I don't feel like exercising. This is bad for my long-term health." It will really help you realize what you're doing. The step 2, making an intention. Once you've noticed a habit that you want to implement, then the next step is to declare an intention. The format of the intention is like this. I will, then add your habit, at the time, and location. So I'll give you an example. I will record my podcast every Monday and every Thursday early morning before starting on my routine business work. Step 3, habit stacking. James Clear states in Atomic Habits that once we have identified our habits and create our intentions, the next step is to identify an existing habit and then stack a new behavior on top. This is called habit stacking. So an example, after I shower in the morning, I will drink a warm glass of water. Once I've had my water, I will stretch for 10 minutes. After stretching, I will meditate for 10 minutes, etc. Once you begin to master how to do this, you can create larger stacks. The secret to habit stacking is selecting the right cue to kick things off. Habit stacking works best when the cue is highly specific and immediately actionable. Step 4, being aware of your environment. It's vital when you're implementing a habit that you look after yourself and protect your environment. Aiming to detox while having family members, friends, work colleagues eat junk food is not going to help your cause because you will be tempted. The environment is the invisible hand that shapes your behavior. In situations where the environment could seduce you, To go into an old habit, it's vital that you design the environment to serve your purpose. Come up with practical plans of how to combat an environment so you can protect yourself. Now, to remove a bad habit from your system, you do it by making that same habit invisible. A practical way to remove a bad habit is to reduce exposure to the cue that causes it. For example, if you regularly have a competitive mind to judge your success based on how others are perceived on social media, then stop using social media. That is the cue where you get tempted to keep going at it. Rather, you need to stop. Now, the steps to implement for hack 2, which is craving or wanting. The first step is temptation bundling. Once we have a cue or we notice a habit that we want to implement, then we move to the next stage, which is learning a technique called temptation bundling. Now, temptation bundling can be used along with habit stacking to create a set of rules to guide your behavior. Temptation bundling basically means that you're more likely to find a behavior attractive if you get to do one of your favorite things at the same time. Now, what's the format of temptation bundling? After current habit, I will, habit I need. After habit I need, I will, habit I want. I know this is confusing, but just stay with me. Now, here's an example. I personally like watching inspirational videos on YouTube while working. But every day, I have to make a certain number of calls to increase my sales. So here's my temptation bundle to direct my habits in the right path. After breakfast, I will email 10 potential clients. After I have emailed 10 potential clients, then I shall watch a 10-minute inspirational clip on YouTube. By doing this, I train my brain to feeling excited to reach out to potential clients to grow my business rather than dreading the task. Now, step 2 in the hack for craving is the seduce pull of social norms, or rather the seductive pull of social norms. All of us, whether we like it or not, are guided by invisible rules. We imitate the habits of 3 separate groups: the close, the many, and the powerful. Let's look at the close. So often, our close friends and family will keep reminding us of the importance to get married, to have children, buying a house. And when you see others around you following this, an invisible rule gets formed in your brain where you are under peer pressure. Now, to build better habits where your desired behavior is a normal behavior, you have to actively seek to join another tribe where your desired behavior is a normal behavior. Now, let's look at imitating the many. Whenever we are unsure of something, we look to a group to guide our behavior. Our brain is constantly scanning our environment to see what everyone else is doing. A simple example: if you want to advertise your business, you look to see what other businesses are doing. If you want to buy a product, you go online to check the reviews. Now let's look at imitating the powerful. To gain success, if we pick role models who achieve what we are after, this can serve us. So studying successful entrepreneurs, celebrities, other powerful figures' behavior can get us these things by following the steps that they took. So how do we fix bad habits using these same steps for hack 2, which is craving. Our bad habits are solutions to cope for ancient desires. They are vices that we use to cope with the desire we are after. Example, if we want to find love or to be loved, we may use services such as a dating site or Tinder, etc. If we want to feel socially accepted, we may start posting on social networks like Facebook, Instagram. If we want to reduce stress, we may turn to smoking or drinking. If we want to show others we are well off, we may turn to stacking up debt to own a car, to have a lavish wedding, to enroll our children in private school, etc. These current habits are not necessarily the best way to solve the underlying desire. They are just the methods we have learned to use. The cravings you experience and the habits we perform are an attempt to address the underlying desire. Now, when we identify this underlying desire, then the habit we put in place can help us or it can destroy us. Having a habit in place to address a desire allows us to fulfill that craving. A simple way to make a bad habit seem unattractive is to try and find a better way of meeting your underlying desire. So, if you want to find love, then find a habit that makes you feel loved, that will serve you, that will serve your craving, and you won't have a negative impact long term. If you want to reduce stress, then create a new habit instead of drinking or smoking. Pick a new way that reduces stress, such as having a meal in a restaurant, going for a run, listening to music, etc. If you want to show others that you are successful, then learn a new skill and learn how to increase your income instead of increasing debt. If you want to be socially accepted, then pick a hobby and share your hobby with others who appreciate it rather than just posting randomly. Now, here are the steps to implement hack 3, which is response or doing. The first step to implement is make it easy. To take action to fulfill your craving, it's important to find an easy plan instead of the optimal perfect plan. To build a habit, you need to practice it. The more effective to practice, the most effective way. Steps to implement hack 3, which is response or doing. The first step is making it easy. To take action to fulfill your craving, it's important to find an easy plan instead of the optimal perfect plan. To build a habit, you need to practice it. The most effective way to practice doing an action is to make it easy. If you want to build a habit that sticks, you need repetition, not perfection. You need to take action for this to become automatic. When people go about focusing on how long does it take to form a habit, that's the wrong question when forming a habit. The real question should be, how many reps does it take to form a habit? Because habits are based on frequency, not time. Now, the step 2 for implementing in hack 3 is implementing least effort. As humans, we are constantly looking for the easy way out. We use this behavior and mindset to our advantage. So if you want to learn how to advertise your business, then instead of being overwhelmed with different platforms and strategies, it's about picking one strategy and taking action. This removes the friction to perfect and know everything before you can even start. Now, when I wanted to launch a podcast, There were many steps in launching a podcast and learning how to master marketing. This can stop you from taking action. Instead, I broke the project into bit-sized steps that I can start taking action, such as writing the script, recording the podcast, cleaning the podcast, uploading the podcast, learning how to repurpose the same podcast on one platform, etc. Each step I had to master repetition before moving to the next step. If you want to get fit and you don't like the gym, then just pick a time and a place that you would do exercise by following a 30-minute workout and stick to that workout every day, either before work or after work. Making things easy is your goal. Don't wait for the perfect gym instructor, the perfect diet plan, the perfect clothing, the perfect yoga mat, the perfect shoes, the perfect resistance bands, etc. You need to start and improve along the way. Now, in the case of a bad habit, make the path difficult. So when you feel like having a smoke, keep the packet of cigarettes in the car or some place where you have to go through hoops to find that cigarette. If you feel tempted to drink alcohol, make it a point to not have bottles of wine or alcohol easily lying around. Make it a difficult step that you need to do so that your mind starts picking another alternative for that craving. Step 3 is the 2-minute rule. Now, the 2-minute rule, according to Atomic Habits, is that when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. The 2-minute rule should help make it easier to build a new habit. For example, you want to read more, read a page a day. You want to podcast, start with picking a topic to speak about. There are 2 reasons the 2-minute rule works. It is a gateway habit that leads you down a more productive path. It reinforces the identity you want to build. To stop a bad habit with this approach of the 2-minute rule, one way to stop the bad habit is by using something called a commitment device. This is a choice you make in the present within 2 minutes to control your action in the future. Here you make a commitment and make it hard to break that commitment. Say, for example, you want to stop smoking. Just keep 1 cigarette with you for a day instead of smoking the whole pack a day. Give the pack to a friend or someone who can hide this and only give you 1 cigarette a day. Very soon, you will start finding other habits to overcome the craving of this bad habit. You may indulge in a hot soup or eat a fruit or have a healthy snack to gain that same desire. Using technology to your advantage. This can help in many ways. Say you struggle to take a break from work and do some stretches off and on. Use a reminder app that reminds you. If you're bad with savings, then automate your paycheck where the bank automatically removes a certain amount and shifts this to a different account before you are even able to see the money. Use one-time decisions. One of the practical ways to automate good habits and negate bad habits is to look for one-time choices that require a little effort upfront but create increasing value over time. Say you overindulge in eating and thereby you overeat, use smaller plates to reduce your calorie intake. If you need to sleep, remove the ability to browse your phone, watch movies in bed from your bedroom. Now let's look at hack 4, which is reward or the liking. It's important to make your atomic habits satisfying because you're more likely to repeat it when you find the experience satisfying. Most often, when we are at the beginning of creating a new habit, it seems like a sacrifice without a reward. People go on a diet for a few days, see nothing change, and give up. People go to the gym a few times and nothing changes, they give up and stop going. Remember, it takes months to see results. So if you want to get a habit to stick, you need to figure out a way to give yourself an immediate reward. One technique you can use when the reward is long-term is to set up a loyalty system for yourself. If you go to the gym regularly and work out for 10 minutes a day, you give yourself $2 for that day, which over a month, if done, you could enjoy a massage. For a smoker, every pack you don't smoke, the smoker can transfer $20 into their account. And they could use this to buy something they desire, like a meal, going to the movies, etc. So there you have it. Now, I know this was a lot to cover, so let's summarize, and I've created a checklist of the actions to take to make atomic habits a part of your life. I've created a visual infographic that you could download by visiting www.livinganamazinglife.com. In addition, I have created some cute truth cards, or you could call it quote cards, that you could print and use them as reminders for your day. Again, you will find it on the website www.livinganamazinglife.com. Now, here are the bullet point steps of creating new habits that serve you and stop bad habits that can pull you down. Step 1, noticing that you need a new habit by listing down your routine right from the morning to the end of the day. Give yourself a plus for the habit you want to keep, a negative for the habit that is going to harm you, and an equal to for it to be neutral. Step 2, once you have the cue or you have noticed the new habit, the next step is to make an intention loudly so you can hear it by declaring the habit and the time and place you will do it. Example, I will be exercising every day for 10 minutes before I start work. Step 3, learning the art of habit stacking. Step 4, building temptation bundles, such as after breakfast, I will complete writing 10 emails or 1 article. After I write my emails or the article, I shall give myself permission to take a break for 10 minutes and browse my favorite channel. Step 5, being aware and create systems to avoid the social norms such as peer pressure from invisible rules dictated through generations, culture, etc. Step 6, follow role models and people you aspire to be, and make a note of their habits that you can incorporate. Step 7, make the doing of the habit easy and practical. Instead of focusing on how long for a habit to take form, ask yourself how many reps are you prepared to do each day to make this habit automatic. Step 8, look for the easy way to incorporate a good habit and make it difficult for a bad habit. Step 9, use the 2-minute rule to start the habit, such as to read a book, start by reading a page. To keep the kitchen sink clean, start by washing after use instead of piling up dishes. Step 10, use technology to your advantage to use apps and automate processes where required. Step 11, create a reward system or a loyalty program by incentivizing yourself for good actions and reps taken. If you've enjoyed today's episode, then would you be kind enough to leave a review on Apple or Google Podcast? It would help me. Also, please do share this piece of work with someone who can benefit from creating habits using the atomic habit methods. If you find my work valuable, then do subscribe to our podcast either on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify. The podcast is called Living an Amazing Life. Just search for it as one word. We are also on YouTube. Again, the channel is called Living an Amazing Life. I hope you have enjoyed this episode and you create a habit that enables you to design an amazing life. Thank you, and I look forward to spending time with you in our next episode. See you soon. Ciao for now. Take care.